fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in Turku, Finland, and today we're going to talk about are some of the ways that traveling actually changes the way you think. And I think one of the biggest things, one of the most important things about travel is that it opens your eyes to the world and also opens your eyes to other cultures and ideas and just ways of living. And what's cool is it doesn't just open your eyes about the differences, it also opens your eyes to the similarities. You start to see that we're all kind of on the same boat here. We're all trying to go for the same thing. Have a better life, make a better future for our families, have good food, have fun times, spend time with our friends and family. It's kind of international that way, but when you start to go around, you really start to see that, hey, those stereotypes I learned about in school or I heard about on TV or the news I read about isn't all that it's cracked up to be, and it gives you this whole other different perspective, because that's the second thing you start to see when you start to travel around the world. It gives you more of a perspective on life and your situation. It can really humble you. I know for me, I still remember when I was living in Brazil and I saw this girl playing with burnt matches in the street, like those were her toys, and it kind of clicked on me that, man, like I am privileged, like I have been lucky to do this, and my kids have been lucky to do these things. Like it really changed the way you see things, and going with that open your eyes to different perspectives. Also, I look at it in terms of my time teaching in China. I really started to understand how that impact of the one-child policy had on those kids. Because like for me, like there's me and there's my brother, and my parents, and they have their own jobs and all this other kind of things, and there's cousins, all kinds of stuff. But imagine if there's only one kid, and that one kid had parents, and they only were one kid as well. So all of a sudden that one kid going to college has got to support mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, maybe some grandparents as well. The pressure that they're under, it totally changes how you see how they study and how they're working, because that's a different kind of thing, and your perspective on things really changes. And with all this, it really makes you like more global looking. You start seeing things and start understanding how issues aren't just one-sided, how there are other things out there. Because then you start to see is how those things relate. Like when people in the US make fun of Europeans, how they don't work 20 hours a day, and Europeans laugh at Americans with, our issues. And you start to see, it's like, why do they do that? Well, it's a whole different kind of perspective, and we start seeing that because that's where it is, those open eyes, the different perspectives, and looking more global. Those are really impactful ways how travel can change you. And probably one of the biggest ways it changes your way of thinking is how you think about food. Like honestly, after I taught in China for a summer, I could never go back to eating Chinese food back home again because it wasn't the same. I mean, come on, how many of you eat spaghetti and meatballs back home in the US and you're like, yes, spaghetti and meatballs, the quintessential Italian meal. And then you go to Italy and they're like, dude, we don't eat spaghetti and meatballs together. They're two separate plates. One is a primi piatti, the first plate, one's a second plate. We don't mix those. And you're like, what? But it totally changes how you see things and how you eat things and how you drink and enjoy things. And you'll see that the more you travel, it kind of influences your food. I mean, I can't get enough Ethiopian food now because it's so good, but you're like, wait, there's no utensils. No, they just rip off the little spongy bread and eat that way. You're like, oh, I didn't know that, but just the food and drink perspective, now you think about it, totally changes as well. Like, I can't pass up a korvapusti here in Finland no matter what. Their cinnamon rolls, they're amazing, and every other cinnamon roll I can say no to back home because Cinnabon ain't nothing compared to a korvapusti at a cafe here in Finland. Now, another way that travel can change is how you look at your vacations. This is one thing I've seen over my years of making these videos. I will see people that are experimenting once with going to Europe or Asia or Africa, and they go that one time and it just explodes their mind and like, yes, I must go abroad every time again. So a vacation doesn't happen unless I leave the country. So that's one way it can go, and it can actually explode your wallet too. But that's one way. But also I've seen the other way when travel doesn't go so well. People are like, nope, I'm never leaving again. Like if you look at some of our videos, you'll see people that'll go on there like, I hate Italy, I'll never go back, that place is horrible. I'm like, Italy's great, what happened? Like I got robbed and it was horrible. And you can see how travel can change for the other way as well and how you look at your vacations. And the thing is, going back to that kind of different perspective, global looking nature of it, I think one thing that travel really does, it really challenges those stereotypes you do have. Like that's one of the things we've always tried to do with our videos is go show different parts of the world. So, El Salvador was known as the murder capital of the world, but we went there when it became safe again to go and really enjoyed it. We were in Rwanda and people were like, how can you go to Rwanda with a genocide? I'm like, that was like 30 years ago. Like things have changed. And going to Colombia and people were like, you're going to get kidnapped. Pablo Escobar is going to get you. And we had a great time in Colombia with no problems. And that's where you start to realize that, hey, those preconceived notions I have, those stereotypes I have about cultures and people, they kind of fade away because you start to see that we are all kind of the same. And one of the best parts of traveling, honestly, for me, is just helping you relieve stress. You got all those problems back home, work's giving you grief, and the neighbors are bugging you, and the HOA is after you. Hey man, I'm here in Finland enjoying some Hesburger and some fancy salmiakki candy and some salmon soup. I don't care about that. And it really helps you kind of recharge and reset. And yes, it can be tough going back home to work and going back to the drudgery of every day after traveling. But honestly, like travel, how it helps you here in your mind to help you relax can be a really great thing. So I know these are some things that I've seen, how travel's really changed the way I think, and how I've seen it impact a lot of our followers as well. How has travel impacted you? Aside from making your wallet and your bank account a lot smaller, or maybe you look in the good way, it made my credit card bill higher? I don't know. Let us know in the comments below so we can have other people enjoy more travels. And I'll say bye from here in snowy Suomi, or Finland. Bye.